but you're basically saying, yeah, I'm a racist, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You're fine with saying you're a racist?
Totally.
But are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No.
Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow, says the guy who's never got laid.
What's good, family? Come on in. Come on in. You with your favorite chef. You at the cookout, baby. You at the cookout. Because we got a good one today. Today, we're going to talk about that interview, and I'm sure by now I would hope that you all have seen that interview between Nick Fuentes and Piers Morgan. And if you haven't, just stick with me through the rest of this video because I'm going to pull up a few highlights from that interview. But before we unpack that interview, I want to draw your attention to a different video, which is some body cam video from earlier this year where an incident occurred at Nick Fuentes' house where two women pulled up on him and wanted to address him over some statements that he had made about when he had made the statement about your body, my choice. And that stemmed from the Trump administration trying to turn over that Roe v. versus Wade decision. And so this is what that was all about.
So these two people are outside my house, filming my house. I called the police earlier. They drove by. They saw it going on. They drove right past. They're marching around on my sidewalk. They came up to the door. I pushed her down the steps because she's banging on my door, filming my house. People are saying they're going to come and kill me. Okay. So someone needs to come out here.
Okay, I'll have him on the way. What's your name?
It's Nick Fuentes.
Okay. And then is it a male and a female or two males?
Two females.
Two females. Are they black, white, or Hispanic?
They're
both are. Do you know what they're wearing?
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't get a good look.
Okay. All right, I'll have him on the way, okay?
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Coward. Pure coward. He's just a puny coward. See, a lot of these people, they hide behind their cameras and they say what they want to say, but at the end of the day, you know, you have the freedom of speech in this country, but you do not have the freedom of consequence. So, as you can see, what happened in that incident, these two women pulled up to his house and he called the police. Now, I can assure you, if anybody pull up to Chef Vonsean house, trust me, I'm going to address that. The police wouldn't be able to do anything that I'm going to do. It wouldn't matter if it was two women, 10 men. It wouldn't matter. I'm going outside and I'm addressing anybody that pulls up to my house. That's what a real man would do.
The police were called after Nick used mace on a woman on his porch after he had been doxxed. He claims it was self-defense, but the woman didn't pose a danger. Here's the confrontation that led to police action.
Hi. Oh my God, what are you doing?
Get the fuck out of here.
So, as you can see, coward. Because what man would be able to even think if there's an incident occurring outside of his home, let me go grab some mace. Let me go grab some mace and let me spray you down like it's off. And then at that point, push you down and take your phone. You know, he called the police. This is what cowards do.
Because I'm not doing an interview.
Huh?
What I'm going to tell you is this.
Well, I heard they're targeting your house.
Yes. I've been
about
harassed
social
for the past
media.
4 days.
Okay, and what is that about?
I posted a joke on the internet. I'm a live streamer.
You're like a YouTube channel? Or something?
Yeah.
You're saying you're a white supremacist?
I'm not a white supremacist. I'm Mexican. Fuentes.
I know.
I'm Mexican. Fuentes.
So even with this new clip that I just played, now as you can see, what he's saying is when the police officer asks him, "Are you a white supremacist?" "Oh no, I'm a Mexican. My last name Fuentes. My last name is Fuentes." See, this is what I'm saying. This is why I wanted to play you all this video first, because like in all actuality, this is what he does. He's a flip-flop, real cowardly, scrawny, puny little guy, very weird. I mean, like, I'm really just mind boggled at the fact that somebody like him could even be a leader of a faction of some sort of white supremacist group, considering the fact that he's Mexican, right? So it reminds me of that Clayton Bigsby character who Dave Chappelle played, where he was doing a parody about being a blind black man and being the leader of a white supremacist group, the KKK. Like, this is what he reminds me of. Clayton Bigsby. You all know that. Clayton Bigsby, like, are you serious? White supremacists, come to the front. White supremacists, come to the front. We got to have a conversation. I thought to be a white supremacist, you had to be white. He's not even white. And mind you, he's from Berwyn, Illinois, which is a suburb outside of Chicago. So he's not even from the city. He's from the suburbs. He talks all of this rhetoric about the black community, Jews and women, etc. But we'll get to all of that later. But the irony of what he says is you live in this bubble. You live in this bubble and you try to address all of these different marginalized groups as if though you live amongst them, and you don't. You don't. So I'm going to play a clip where this woman addresses that who he pushed down. She's specifying where he's from because he's from Berwyn. He's from Berwyn.
About it.
Yeah.
I came by here because I live in Berwyn.
Okay.
I live on the south side.
Right. So as you can hear, I wanted you to hear the woman because that is Berwyn police who had actually pulled up to the scene to address that. And so now I want to play this clip of him actually getting into an altercation with a guy and how he responds in a situation like that. Because with this woman, he maced her, pushed her down the steps, took her phone. But watch when he's confronted with an actual guy, how he responds to that.
You need to stop. You need to stop. Don't fucking touch him. Stop. Yeah, we will. Sure. Just fucking stop.
So when I look at him, I what I really want to know is now if you really pay attention to what he's doing, right? So he brings up all of these issues in the black community, etc. But mind you, he has people pulling up to his house, the cops. He got people pulling him to his house with guns because there was a video where a guy pulled up to him to his house with his parents' house with a gun, and he has all of this chaos and confusion transpiring at his parents' house. So to me now it looks like, well, you brought all of this attention to the suburbs, so you done turned the suburbs into the hood. You say all of this about the hood where you got all of this, violence going on, and you're bringing that violence to your house because of the rhetoric that you spew. The irony of that. Okay, so listen, now we're going to get into the Piers Morgan interview, right? I just wanted to address that just to show you who we're dealing with. A person where I'm from, like, if you make statements like that, you're going to stand behind that. I've never seen a man go and mace a woman. I've never seen that. There were two suburban white women soccer moms that pulled up to your house and wanted to confront you about some statements that you made. See, the reason why nobody like myself pulled up to your house, because no one knew where you live. But now we do, because you live in Berwyn. And you see his house? Yeah. See, that's where he lives with his parents. So he does all of this talking, right? That we have to be mindful of. I want everybody to be mindful of. You with your favorite chef, just pay attention. So now, if you look at what he's been doing, you would be able to really understand the severity behind the rhetoric that he spews. So the first thing that he addresses is he says that he's from the suburbs. Says he's from the suburbs, and then he also admits that the fact that both of his parents grew up in a single parent household.
Well, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in LaGrange Park, as you say. My parents are ethnics. My father's half Mexican, half Irish. My mother's Italian. And they both came from a pretty rough upbringing themselves. They both were raised by single mothers.
And not only did they grow up in a single parent household, now he lives in a predominant white suburban area. So what would make a person who grew up under these circumstances feel the need to address whatever it is transpiring in the black community? Because by your logic, it seemed like shit. Hell, you dealing with the same scenario. It seems as if though you are dealing with the exact same scenario that a lot of black people are dealing with. Single parent households and violence and police. You have the same issue that's going on, and you're bringing that purposely because that neighborhood, I'm sure your neighbors are like, they would rather get rid of you. They would have to, won't he do it? Won't he do it?
But the one common theme I would say is everyone's a product of their environment. And I was reading some stuff about you in the last few days. There was an episode of your podcast where you talked about your father, Bill Fuentes, and how he wouldn't take the family, including you, to certain restaurants because he believed they were associated with African Americans. We would be deciding where to go to eat, you said. What are we going to do for dinner tonight? It was a running joke. Me and my sister would say Applebee's, and my dad would say we would never eat at Applebee's. Not in a million years should you be caught dead, Fuentes said about Applebee's. Go to a different restaurant, a local restaurant. No Applebee's, no Red Lobster. That is commonly known as black fare. And you also shared another story about your family and restaurants. Said, before me and my sister were born, my family had a saying about Olive Garden that contains the N-word that we're not allowed to say. So my question, based on that anecdote that you say on your own podcast, is do you think you grew up in a racist environment, that your father was inherently racist, and that thought process moved to you?
Well, I would say it's a new low. I've been attacked for being a racist many times, but to attack my father, to attack my parents based on anecdotes, I would say that's sort of a new low.
Hang on, it's your anecdote.
Yeah, but he's not here to defend himself.
You are.
And my parents are.
You told the story.
And I will. And I'm
not trying to ambush you. As I said at the start, Nick, to be clear.
No, it's not an ambush.
Nick, to be clear,
I think
I'm
everybody
not
understands.
ambushing you. I'm literally reading an anecdote that you revealed on your podcast. It's you that's put it in the public domain.
I know.
I'm simply asking you whether my assessment of that, which is that your father didn't want to take you to certain restaurants because of what you refer to as, they were commonly known as black fare, whether that attitude to African Americans in that instance permeated to you. It's a reasonable question.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think everybody knows what that is, but I'll address it. I'll engage with it, and I'll defend my father from the charge of racism.
Sure.
No, my parents are not racist, and they've never been racist. I'll tell you about my parents. They used to have a school in Chicago in the South Loop where they instructed people on how to shoot firearms. It was a security school, and most of the clients were black. And I believe actually one of their clients was Larry Hoover's son at one point, sort of a funny story. And so most of their clients would come in from the south side of Chicago. My grandmother, she grew up in the projects in the city. And so my family being in Chicago, being ethnics, being Italian, Irish, Mexican in the west side on Taylor Street, all over the city. My family for many generations have lived near and around black people. And look, my views about black people and their views about black people are shaped with experiences with black people. And what they will tell you, what my parents would say if they were here, is that for many, many years, the older generations of black people were very respectful, very humble, very decent. In fact, my grandma used to have an anecdote. She grew up in a lot of dysfunction. Her mother was mentally ill, and they would be having dinner in the projects, and there'd be so much chaos and dysfunction and disagreement and fighting. And she would look across the way out the window at a black family in the other apartment, and they'd be holding hands around the table saying grace.
Right. So even in that video, he talked about how his parents came from dysfunctional neighborhoods. He also mentioned the fact that his parents, owned a shooting store where a lot of their customer base stemmed from the south side of Chicago. And he actually tried to throw in a joke to say one of the people was Larry Hoover's son. So he tried to, so if the black people are so bad, your family, your wealth, whatever it is that you may have, was built off the backs of black people from the south side of Chicago. For you to turn that all around and act like, oh, well, look at these people. Look at these people. Well, look at them, because these are the people that made your parents' business a success. Now, won't he do it? And then the other thing that I thought that was interesting was the fact that he said that his grandmother, his mom's mother was somebody that was suffering from some sort of mental illness. And he was saying that, her experience living in the projects was her looking over and seeing black families standing around a table and saying grace while her family was having all of this dysfunction in their house. See, this is what a lot of people do. People will try to deflect and point the attention somewhere else, but the entire time, the attention should be focused on you because, well, look at you. Look at what your family got going on. The irony of that, because won't he do it?
You told this story, right? And you said that
you said this. We're looping. You said this already.
But you haven't really directly, I think, responded to it, which is whether your father would not take you to certain restaurant chains because he associated them with black Americans. Is that true?
No. Well, see here, if you're in America, you would say that Olive Garden is not real Italian food. Applebee's, TGI Fridays, this stuff is a load of crap. My dad was just a food snob, but no, it's got nothing to do with that. My best friend in first grade was a black guy. We're not a racist family. So
how do you go from your best friend in first grade being black to this particular perspective on life? How do you do that?
This is where you talk about Jews, women, and blacks. Let's just take a listen.
They're always coming up with, no, it's not the Jews. No, it's not women. No, it's not blacks. It's actually really complicated. No, it fucking isn't at all. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. And we would live in paradise. It's that simple.
Okay. Would you like to clarify what you meant there?
That's all true. That's 100% true. Everything I said in that clip is true.
Including that blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part.
Yeah. Yes.
But all of them?
No, for the most part.
What does the most part mean? What percentage of American blacks would you like to see in prison?
Whatever the percentages of the murderers. I think it's 1 in 20 black men will commit a murder in their lifetime. So maybe let's say that 5%.
He says blacks need to be in prison, and then he bring up these false statistics. This is what people like him and Charlie Kirk would do. They would bring up these crazy statistics, and as you can see, he would say, 1 out of 20. 1 out of 20 black people, by statistics, may commit murder. Not that they will, like this is some hypothetical. Like what are these people? What is this, Cleo? What are you looking at? Tarot cards? What are you looking at? Like how do you come up with these numbers? Are you some sort of prophet? Are you Nostradamus? Because now this is what that's what that statistic said by his account. He said that they would. Like it's some sort of potential idea that could actually occur. But that's not the case.
Just remind me again, the percentage of black men who commit murder in America. What was the percentage you gave me?
It's 1 in 20. 1 in 20.
It's 1 in 100.
No, it's 1 in 20.
No. Less than 1 in 100 black US men commit murder. That's the most up-to-date crime statistics in America.
That's not true. I've seen other statistics. They say 1 in 20 will eventually commit a murder.
So your rate means that you're saying that 5 times as many black men commit murder as the official crime statistics say?
Yeah, there's a report, I believe, on X by Data Hazard. I'll have to go and double check that for you.
And so he say, no. He trying to go off of some statistic that he found off of X, which used to be Twitter, but is now X. But he said that, off of some statistic that he found off of that was the statistic that he came up with, where they potentially would do this in the future, which is, the irony of that. But anyway, so Piers Morgan pushes him back on that, and he says, 1 out of 100. Yeah,
there's a report, I believe, on X by Data Hazard. I'll have to go and double check that for you. But yes, there's some pretty shocking evidence that says that it's far more alarming than you would think.
Okay, but you would accept that the official crime statistics are 1 in 100, or you wouldn't accept that statistic?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
When he bring up the statistics, he say, well, I don't have it in front of me. They never do. If he was to even ask him, well, what is the statistics on the white community? Well, I don't have it in front of me. Of course you don't. You put so much emphasis and so much focus on the black community. Why would you know what's going on in the white community? Why would you? The irony of that.
But I've seen other evidence. Like I said, Data Hazard on X, I believe, produced a report about a year ago. It said 1 in 20. But I mean, whether it's 1 in 20 or 1 in 100, that's a lot of people, Piers. I mean,
Sure,
this is
a lot of white
problem.
people commit murder too. Well, they do, don't they?
Okay, but it's about proportionality. I mean, white people are 65% of the population. Blacks are 13%.
Mm-hmm. He said, well, 1 out of 20, 1 out of 100. That's a huge gap. Because if I was gambling and the odds was me winning 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 100, that's major. 1 out of 20, there's a high probability that I will win. 1 out of 100, well, yeah, that's an astronomical difference. So if you really pay attention to what is being said, all of this is what people like him do. They do all of this disparaging comments when it pertains to like the black community, marginalized groups. And then the sad part is, on the flip side of that, they know that the statistics that they're quoting are false. They just want to paint the black community in this bad image. And the sad part is, by doing so, you put a target on these people.
Black people are the most victimized by other black people. You think black people want to live in the hood and the ghetto and get shot all the time? That's what happens in the south side of Chicago. You should come here. I'll take you there. We could go to Garfield Park.
My son went to Chicago
Inglewood.
University for a year, actually, several years ago.
Yeah, that's a bubble. That's a bubble. You think you're in Chicago and Hyde Park? You don't know Chicago. Go a little bit west. See what it's like over there.
He said that black people are more victimized by other black people, which is true, because things happen within proximity of one another. They want to keep bringing up proportionality, but it's all about proximity, because more than likely, if you live in a black neighborhood, you will be victimized by someone that's black. Vice versa when it comes to the white community as well. Same difference. But by his logic, he's trying to, scare the people into thinking like, well, yeah, you need to be fearful of the black community. Why? You don't even live around black people. Just like when the women pulled up on him at his house, those were white women who lived in his community, but they lived on the other side of town. We need to pay attention to that, because that's important. This is what people like him do. They spew these false statistics and people actually buy into that, and they think like, oh, well, these people are bad. And like in Charlie Kirk's case, you did all of this talking about the black community. You wanted to bring up, gang violence. But at the end of the day, more than likely, he was unalived by someone that was white. The irony of that.
Unless you want to say that's another of your jokes, but you're basically saying, yeah, I'm a racist, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You're fine with saying you're a racist?
Totally. I think everybody's racist. I think everybody, if we're being honest, is racist. I think everybody, the only people that aren't racist or pretend not to be are white people to their detriment. Everybody else is racist.
But earlier in the interview, you got aggrieved at the idea that your father was a racist. You wanted to make emphatically sure.
My father's...
He's not.
Because my father doesn't share my same views on that.
So he's the exception to the everyone's a racist.
Well, everybody's a little bit racist.
He said, well, are you racist? He said, yeah, well, I'm racist. Everybody's racist. See, this is what he's trying to do to deflect from what he actually is. That's just to minimize it, just to soften it up. Oh, well, everybody's racist. No, you're racist, and the people that you associate with are racist. But the irony of it is you're Mexican, but they racist too. I mean, if we're going to be straight up, like, to be honest with you, I think Mexicans are more racist than white people. That's a fact. That's why when it came time to voting for Trump, you had Latinos for Trump. You had all of these different marginalized groups from Trump, but because they have a disposition with black people. And that's the problem when you have people like him, as well as other people who spew this false rhetoric about the black community. This is what you have.
And so as a white person,
how do you feel about mass shootings at school?
I think they're bad.
Who do you think commits the vast majority of the mass shootings?
I'm sure
in
it's
schools?
white people.
Right. So how do you feel about that?
I think that white people do more antisocial violence. I think black people participate in more gang violence. I think that's the difference.
When he brought up mass shootings and he asked them, well, who does the mass shootings? Oh, yeah, well, probably white people. Yeah, well, you knew that. See, you knew that. So you're telling me that it's more serious about what is transpiring in the black community than what's happening with mass shooters, with white people. Because it's a well-known fact that the majority of mass shooters, school shootings, come from the hands of white men, not even just white men, young white men like himself. And these are the people that he's pushing to. These are the people that he is pushing this narrative to, and that is the problem. Because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. These people actually fall into that because what Nick Fuentes is, he's an incel. An incel is people who are people that can't get women. Women are not attracted to them, so they have no res about themselves. So, and this is where you get people like that. So they get all depressed because they can't pull women, they can't do anything. So the only thing that they result to is unaliving people and unaliving themselves.
Proportion also. Do you know what percentage of white people are school shooters?
I know that the vast majority of mass shootings in schools in America this century were perpetrated by young white men. And I'm
what proportion?
I'm curious. I'm curious whether your advice would be to people who have kids in these schools.
Is my mic working?
What
proportion?
Should they avoid white people at school? Should people with the kids at school avoid young white men at school?
No.
Okay.
Do you know what per capita means? Do you know proportionality? There are more black people proportionally that engage in violent crime or are involved in gangs, especially in these major cities, than there are white people that are school shooters compared to the entire white population. And everybody understands that.
Two-thirds of mass shootings at school perpetrated by white people.
But what proportion of white men commit school shootings? That's the question.
I've just told you. It's 60-65% of school shootings by white people.
You're telling me what proportion of school shootings are committed by white people. I'm saying what proportion of white people have committed school shootings. Are you playing dumb or are you just not that smart?
What difference does that make to the children lying dead on the ground?
See, now you want to jump on the victims. The difference is you're asking, would you fear white people or black people?
So as you can see, he asked him, should they avoid white people? Since he said that, because of what's transpired in the black community, you should avoid black people. But now, as you can see, he's asking them, which is a legitimate question, well, should they avoid white men? Oh, no. Proportionality. No, it's about proximity. It's about proximity. Damn proportionality. We're not dealing with that. We're dealing with proximity because more than likely, when these mass shootings occur at these white schools by white kids, because these white kids ain't going into black schools shooting up a black school. Thank God for that. And the reason why they're not doing that is because majority of the black schools in these, more impoverished areas, they have metal detectors. They screening these kids. There's a whole different process to get into a classroom. Now, they think things are safe because you are in the suburbs. But see, that's the irony of it. That's the irony of it. So with that being said, now we're going to go off his own logic. Yes, absolutely. Like Piers Morgan said, yeah, we should avoid white people. White men, to be exact.
I'm against interracial marriage. And what's funny is that every other group is against interracial or interethnic marriage. Jews, Chinese,
you're the product of an interracial marriage.
Yeah, I mean, that's debatable.
Not
Let's
really.
say for the sake of argument, sure.
No, you're the product of an interracial marriage. And your father is part Mexican. You're literally,
for the sake of argument,
the very person you've just told me you want to avoid.
Well, you're more of a racial purist than me. You got like
a one drop. You just keep saying you only want to live in a white neighborhood, but you're literally from a mixed race background yourself. You've literally got Mexican blood.
He's against interracial dating, but Piers Morgan asked him a legitimate question. Shout out to Piers Morgan, because he actually pushed him back on things that I didn't expect. Because most of the people who've interviewed him try to tiptoe around certain things because they don't want to, rile up his viewers. But at the end of the day, he talked about, well, you are a product of interracial dating. Oh, well, if you want to say that. But mind you, let's go back before in the other videos that I had showed you prior. The first thing when the officer asked him, are you a white supremacist? Oh, I'm a Mexican. Now you're a Mexican. In this clip, you want to say, well, if, for argument's sake, you can say, yeah, I'm a part of an interracial marriage situation. But at the end of the day, no, you said you was Mexican. Flat out Mexican. Are you not? Are you not? You're not Mexican? Of course you're not. Because it doesn't, so he flip-flops. He plays both sides. See, most people, especially the white supremacists that I know, they wouldn't allow you to play both sides. You could be legitimate white, like whole white, but if you're around real white supremacists, if you even talk to black people, they wouldn't deal with you. Let alone if you actually mix with other different marginalized groups. No, not at all. So it's just ironic. 2025, it's like the Proud Boys. The person that's over the Proud Boys, I was kind of like shocked to see, like, how is somebody, he's of Cuban descent, but he's the leader of the Proud Boys. And then you have Nick Fuentes, who's a Mexican. He's leading the Gropers, who, is a different faction of the white supremacist group. This is just the irony of this. I can't even make it up.
I know, and I live in a non-white neighborhood too. I'm trying to get out of here though, but I'm trying to get out. But
I'm sure your neighbors would not want to live next to you. They would be grateful if you actually left their neighborhood. So you live in a diverse neighborhood in the suburbs. You ain't even got enough money to move out the hood. You live with your parents. See, people would think that because you getting all of these views that you getting some sort of money, but apparently not. Because won't he do it?
People
of
don't do
course,
it.
deranged white people commit heinous acts, but you don't either know.
No disagreement.
You neither know nor care, or maybe both. Maybe you do know but don't care. You only seem to be focused on black people who commit crimes. And again, if you hadn't prefaced the whole debate about racism by openly conceding you are a racist, I could read other connotations into what you've been saying. But once you've said, I'm a racist, and then you only talk about black crime, I think people can watch this and they can say, yeah, he's a racist. And everything that he says about crime is driven through the prism of being a racist who judges people according to their skin color.
Hey, well, all you talk about is what black crime. Why don't you address what is going on in the white community? Because that's what Charlie Kirk failed to do. Because had Charlie Kirk even mentioned what was transpiring in the white community, maybe he probably would still be alive. Because the irony of that, won't he do it? So that's a good question. I'm glad Piers Morgan pressed him on that, because at the end of the day, why are you so focused on the black community? Why are you so focused on women and Jews? You don't live around blacks. You don't even deal with women. And what is your whole issue with Jews? You don't live around them either.
To clear up one of the many theories about you, I've no idea what the answer is and you haven't got to answer. But are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So
for another man to ask you, are you even attracted to women? That should be an insult. But when he asked him, are you attracted to women? Look at his response. Look at his response. I have no issue. Love who you love. That ain't what this video, like, but look at his response. If this is what he subscribed to, then it is what it is. But he asked him, are you even attracted to women? Because of the rhetoric that he spews, one would ask, but there's no way that a heterosexual man would say these sort of things about a woman. Certain things, but he's just against women in its entirety, just like black people. Right? So if you're black, you would draw the fact that you're racist. If you're against women, well, to that extent, then one would think like, okay, you might be into men. And if that's your case, then fine. I mean, like if that is your case, then by all means, like, hey, I'm all for it. Do what you do, love who you love. But I'm saying, but I just think it's ironic that a person like this can masquerade around and act like he's just this, alpha male, because that's what he tried to come off as, but he's just a weak, puny little coward and might be into men. I mean, that's what I think. As a matter of fact, if you pay attention to what he's about to say even next, that will show you he's into men.
All women, all women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy, have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid.
He said, absolutely not. I've never in my life met a man who was asked, virgin or not, virgin or not. This man is 27 years old. He's almost 28, damn near 30. If you ask him, have you ever been with a woman? He say, well, absolutely not. I mean, yeah, I can understand no, but just absolutely not? Yeah. But the issue, the reason why I wanted to point out these clips was because if you pay attention to him, right, he is actually leading this sort of faction of these young men who, like himself, is an incel, who is someone who can't get women, and so he has all of this rage built up inside of him. I'm telling you, now, if anything, I say he needs some pussy. Shit. If anybody needs some pussy, it's him, right? So, but this is a person that they're trying to prop up to try to lead the conservative movement. And the irony of this whole thing is he tried to promote himself as being not only a Christian, so people will say, well, he's a Christian, so he's waiting for marriage. No, that's not the case. Hell no. No, we're past that time. We're living in 2025. Nobody is that sovereign when it comes to their sexuality except for him, apparently. But the people that he's around, they couldn't get a woman if he wanted to. They couldn't get a woman if he wanted to. So I just wanted to bring up these highlights, and I just wanted you all to just be able to see. Follow with me. You with your favorite chef, Chef Vonsean. You at the cookout. See, if you here, you made it to the cookout because this is your personal invite. You with your private chef, Chef Vonsean. And I just think it's ironic that a person like himself would have such a movement. Now, I'm not going to do too many videos on him because I also want to bring to the attention of a lot of these black content creators that I don't think it's ideal that we promote him. I don't. But I mean, this interview had so many highlights to it. I wanted to be able to share my opinion on that, but I won't be doing too many, videos on him just because I don't think it's ideal for us to give him any more leverage than we have. Because at the end of the day, all we're doing is giving him more promotion. More promotion. Like, had I not been doing content, I wouldn't have had no idea who he was. So we need to be actually conscious of what we're doing whenever we're trying to, whether it be for views and all. I know we do this for views, but like, I want us to be able to be very conscious, like, because ultimately what we're doing is the more of us that showcase him, all we're doing is giving him free promotion and publicity. So we got to be careful. And that's it for this video. You know what I'm saying? So you with your favorite chef, Chef Vonsean, because won't he do it? Won't he do it?